sherry pots. Our long, narrow gardens are left over from the medieval half-life this town forgot in the aftermath of the war. All that's left of the ancient heart of town is the wall, and our house, and the ones on either side. 3 dark, rickety, narrow houses in a row, with long gardens that you can't shout down when you call the cat in because he won't hear. So you have to go out in the dark at least halfway and yell really loud. Tonight, the cats, Martin next door's Joker and our Mugsy, are crouched up there on the shed roof with their fur on end, making weird, frightening guttural wails and peering down into the narrow strip of brambles by the wall. "Break it up, lads," I say, and the wailing rises in pitch. Maybe there's a stray caught down there. I edge between the shed and the fence and peer round the back of the shed. It isn't a stray, it's a girl. No, a woman. Scratched and bruised and angry. And she's completely naked. "Martin, pass me your jacket." Martin has overprotective parents. You'll never catch him out on a winter evening without a coat, even in the garden. "Don't get it dirty," he says as he hands it over the fence. "And don't rip it." I suppose he thinks I'm going to drop it over some wounded creature. Maybe I am, come to that. I hold it by the collar and edge it round the gap. It is snatched from my hand. I look away, illogical given I've seen all there is to see, but there is something indecent about struggling into clothes in a confined space. Then there she is, head tilted defiantly, Martin's jacket pulled round her, but not buttoned. Her face is a web of scratches, all shallow and barely bleeding, and her dark hair is matted to the left side of her head. "You've been in the wars," I say, startled into sounding like my gran. "Wars, yes," she nods smartly. Martin, on the other side of the fence, is open-mouthed. "How did you get into Ned's garden?" It's a fair question, but given the way she's staggering, it can wait. An adult might be an advantage just now, but Martin's parents would ask too many questions we can't answer, and my dad is watching cricket highlights from some match played in India, so the chance of his looking up unless we walk between the sofa and the screen are small. I offer the woman my arm, and she grabs on and holds on like she's a shipwrecked sailor. A waft of her scent gusts over me, sweat and mud. It takes an age to walk up the garden. The cats spit at us and follow in low, slinking runs. As we reach the final run of steps before the kitchen terrace, Joker, with a final hiss and a beclawed swipe at a bare ankle, hurtles over the fence and in at his cat flap. Martin appears at our kitchen door, having whipped round the front and through our house. You'll never catch Martin climbing a fence, in case he snags his nice corduroy trousers. He doesn't actually have leather patches on his jacket elbows, but spiritually they exist. The woman hesitates on the doorstep and puts all her weight on my arm to get across the threshold. In the neon kitchen light, she looks even older than I thought. Not Mum's age, not nearly, but in her late 20s perhaps. The matting of her hair is caused by blood. "Would you like to wash?" She looks at me blankly. I rub the side of my head. She raises her hand, touches her scalp cautiously. "Wash? Yes." I can't place her accent. She's small and dark, but it isn't the accent of any of the farm workers I hear on the bus every day. Martin looks anxious, probably worried she's going to get blood on his precious coat. I take her as quietly as I can up the stairs and into the bathroom. She stands staring while I get a clean towel out. I put in the plug and run the water for her, like she wouldn't know how. She perches on the toilet, the coat swinging open. She plays with the chain, swinging it from side to side like a cat with a toy. "Right, I'll leave you to it." This time I sound like my father. I suppose I'll eventually say something that sounds like a 15-year-old boy. Possibly that would be more embarrassing. I shut the door and hear the faint splash of feet in 3 inches of water. I jerk my head at Martin and we head into my room. He sits on the bed while I pull out my oldest jeans and jumper. I know I'm going to lend her clothes and I won't get them back. I pile the clothes against the bathroom door and walk quietly away. "Why are we doing this?" Martin asks. What I want to say is, why wouldn't we? What I actually say is, got to? Martin nods slowly. That's what I feel too, got to, but why have we got to? I shrug and start looking at shoes. "Ned," he says anxiously. "Why?" I settle on slippers, an unappreciated gift from some aunt I never see. I can't shake the feeling of obligation. "I should go home," Martin says, an unfamiliar vein standing out in his forehead. "Don't leave me alone with her," I manage to whisper. He sobs. The door opens and she stands there, jumper and jean waistband barely meeting, her hair tied in a dripping knot. There are grey streaks in the wet hair, and crow's feet and frown lines plain on her face now it's clean enough to see. No scratches. Martin stands, and she stretches out on the bed. "Hungry?" I pretend I'm asking Martin, but... "Hungry, yes." Martin looks panicked as I shut the door on them. I take the stairs 2 at a time. Dad is in the kitchen, peering down the garden. "What's with that stupid cat?" he asks. I glance out. I can just see Muggsy pacing up and down. I open the door to call him, and hear him spitting still. Seeing that daft old tabby so upset frightens me, more than having a stranger who wants something in the house. Muggsy stares up at the light from my window and wails. I shut the door sharply. "Rabies, possibly?" I suggest. Dad laughs and goes back to the cricket. I put together a plate of things I hope Mum won't miss. A piece of the pork pie Dad made last week, 2 tomatoes, a slice of bread, 1 chocolate biscuit. I boil the kettle and make a mug of instant soup and a mug of tea. I put a slug of whiskey in the tea. I can't get the bedroom door open without putting everything down. Martin is backed into a corner and bright red in the face. "I'm going," he says. "Don't! Leave you on your own with her? You left me." He yanks his coat off at the end of the bed and storms past me. I look down at her. The jumper has ridden up, exposing an expanse of stomach and lower ribs, and the fly of the jeans is wide open. I avert my eyes from a glimpse of hair. I kick the door shut and hold out the plate. She swivels to sit up and takes it from me. She takes a bite from each of my offerings, passing them to me to do likewise. It has a feel of ritual, and I eat reluctantly, grateful for a large swig of tea and whiskey to force down the normally treasured pastry on Dad's pie. The tomato bursts under my teeth, and she laughs and leans to lick the juice off my chin. I shudder under the aliveness of it, squirming away. I get a waft of her scent again, something bitter and spicy that I can't name. She downs the rest of the tea. "Good?" I say shakily. "Good, yes." I take the plate and mugs downstairs and find Mum draped over Dad on the sofa. She's early. Normally I would roll my eyes, but tonight I'm just grateful they're there. I dump the crockery in the sink and loll against the door jamb. Mum raises her head and spots me. "Fancy pizza?" she asks. I nod. "I'll go, shall I?" Dad reaches for the phone. I slow motion through getting the money from Mum's purse, methodically finding boots, coat, hat and gloves. "Do you need the Huskies?" Dad asks, observing my preparations. "No," I say. "They just slow me down and argue over whether there will be extra pepperoni." "Okay, don't speak to any walruses." I don't hurry. The pizza shop is just on the corner. Giovanni won't have the pizzas ready for another few minutes. I breathe frosty air and look up at the matte black sky and stars that seem unusually bright. Instinctively, I glance up the high road towards London and am reassured by the sullen red glow beyond the half-hearted string of lights that signify the approach of Christmas. I swing in through the door at Giovanni's. Marco, who's at school with me, is just boxing up our dinner. I hand my money to Giovanni and try to engage Marco in conversation. "Busy, innit?" is all he will say. He pushes the stacked boxes across the counter. The 3-minute walk home feels like a blink, and I wish it would last forever. We eat slowly, to the accompaniment of an incomprehensible thriller on TV. I'm almost asleep when Mum prods me. "Bed," she says. "I'll come and tuck you in later." "You will not. I'm not having you inspect my paramour." She raises an eyebrow. "No son of mine is ever going to be too old for a goodnight kiss," she warns. I scramble up and kiss the top of her head, and, for good measure, Dad's bald patch. "Don't milk it," I say sternly. "Soppy moments are strictly on ration." I go upstairs, dread filling my mouth. I try to wash it out with toothpaste and extra brushing. The bedroom is dark, and for a happy moment I imagine she is gone. But her smell pervades the room. I put the light on. She has bundled the duvet up around her, but there is no disguising the change. Her face is creased and lined, and her hair is white as bone, and worse, her belly is swollen like a malnourished child or a pregnant woman. "No," I say, awed. "Yes," she says between gritted teeth. "Now?" I ask, horrified, turning to call my mother. "Now, yes," she says, and her hand shoots out to grab me. I turn out the light and sit on the floor beside her as she gasps her way through it, her unbreakable grip cutting off circulation to my hand. I hear Mum come up. She stands outside my room for several seconds before Dad calls something from the living room and she wanders to the top of the stairs and forgets to come back. I hear them in their bedroom, and then their light goes out and they snuffle into silence. She is groaning rhythmically now. I can't believe my parents haven't heard. She gives a long, shrill gasp and then sobs, and the grip on my wrist relaxes. I can hear the clock on the old church at the far end of the lane strike. A second later, the new church up on the high road joins in, a discordant jangle of midnights. She fumbles for a moment, and then a soft gurgle joins her sobs. Cradled in her arms is a child, the smallest, most perfect creature I ever saw. She looks up at me and holds out the child. She barely fills my 2 hands. "Take," she says. I stare. Is she giving me the child? "Take," she says again. She pinches the cord hard and it parts, neatly sealed. She closes her eyes, waving her hand vaguely at the window that overlooks the garden. "Warm." I wrap the child in a t-shirt and tiptoe past the parents' room and down the stairs, unlock the back door, grab Dad's gardening jacket and tuck the child in against my chest. Muggsy rushes me, wailing and carrying on. At the first set of steps, Joker joins us. By the time I reach the sheds, there are more than a dozen cats, most of whom I don't recognise. A particularly mean-looking Tom stumbles into my legs several times before I realise he's trying to guide me. The cats are ranged along the shed roofs and the wall. Muggsy leaps onto my shoulder and grumbles in my ear. He steps down into the crook of my arm so that he is right next to the child. I try to shield her, and he bites my thumb. As I jerk my hand away, he stretches his head and sinks his teeth into the knot holding the t-shirt together and picks the child up. Before I can do more than gasp, he leaps out of my arms to the shed roof, and in 3 strides he is on the wall. The child is almost the same size as him, and Muggsy struggles with his burden. Horrified, I climb after him, the cats swarming around me. I hook a leg over and straddle the wall. Muggsy turns his head and drops the child. I lunge to catch. Too far away, too slow. A man raises his hands and catches her. Where did he come from? Where did all these people come from? Beyond the wall, standing in groups of 3 or 4, are 20, 50, hundreds of people. Muggsy hisses and leaps back into the garden. I follow his movement and realise that all the cats are going. I turn back to look over the wall. There is no one there, just brambles and sycamores. I shiver. I scramble down from the wall. It is not as easy as getting up. I walk up the garden with Muggsy keeping pace, his tail raised in cheerful anticipation of food. At the door to my bedroom, I stop to listen. I can hear Dad's uneven snoring from the room opposite, but I can hear nothing from my room. I push open the door. She's gone. I shake out the duvet as though she might be hiding it. A single bramble leaf falls out. I pick it up and press it to my lips. It gives off a faint scent, bitter and spicy.
Naughty baby, hush, you squalling